Welcome back to Everything About Nothing. This is the rundown of the last week's college football weekend, which was nothing short of a great another week. We're going to talk about some great matchups, some upsetting wins, and just some teams that you were excited to see finally make a pull of it. First, we're going to talk about is Texas versus Vanderbilt. This is not the same Vanderbilt team. I want to just start off and preface this. This Vanderbilt team is not the same we've known in the past. It's been the butt of the joke in the SEC, and they've never ever really been a contender football-wise, right? They've always been one of the worst teams in the country, and if there wasn't for their academic grades and their dominance in other sports, we wouldn't even consider them to be in the SEC. But this is not the same team. And what they did to Alabama shows that this team this year, they're having a resurgence. Like, this is not a same Vanderbilt team that you see on your schedule and you're gonna just beat them up. This team is gonna come to play and they're gonna come to fight. And Texas knew about that, right? Because what they shown against Alabama a couple weeks ago just shows how different this team is and how ready they are to play. But Texas coming off a loss last week against Georgia, which was a humiliating loss. It was an opportunity for Texas to really make a stamp in the college football world. And for them, that loss showed them that, hey, there's still levels to this, and Georgia is still that team. But guess what? They have another opportunity to bounce back, and they were going into Vanderbilt. They played a great game. The score is 27-24, but I promise you, it was not indicative of how that game really was played. A lot of penalties, which Texas did incur, which set them back a couple of yards, but at the same time, that game was not close. Texas held the lead the whole game for the most part, and there was really no chance until the fourth quarter where they had that fourth down touchdown score. But for the most part, Texas held this team. And like I said, Vanderbilt was a top 25 ranked team. I understood that, hey, at the end of the day, it's still Vandy, but Texas still beat a ranked team. So that has to go on the record. I'm upset to see that the AP dropped them down for that. But at the end of the day, we know that it's only smooth sailing going from here. Quinn Ewers played pretty well. At one point, completed 17 straight passes to begin the game, and he ended it off with 27 of 37 for 288 yards. He did have a couple of picks, which we can say were tip passes. It might not have been on him, but at the end of the day, he is QB1. It will show on his stat sheet, so it doesn't matter. We have to take care of the ball, and we have to finish drives. I think the game of the night, which we can all agree was Texas A&M versus LSU. First and foremost, at Kyle Field, 108,000. Third largest attendance in Kyle Field history. And I know it was that record right now will stay until 4 weeks down the line when Texas Longhorns come into town. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about the LSU Tigers. And this game was electric. Mike Elko is building something here at Texas A&M, and it's not a fluke, right? What he's done in his first year, it's almost like he's ahead of schedule. This wasn't like, for all Aggie fans, we weren't even talking about them as we usually would and before the season, with Texas A&M's highly ranked recruits, this recruiting class, all the money, that wasn't even the subject this year. We were just like, hey, Aggies are in rebuild mode. They don't have a highly rated coach coming in, but at the same time, Mike Elko has made his stamp on Aggie history. Right now, what he's doing, he has them atop of the SEC, which they have not been in a very, very long time. And he has an opportunity to really make the college football playoffs. And they have one of the longest win streaks since 2020, which do we even count that year? It was a pandemic, it was a weird year. That's neither here nor there. But what I'm trying to say is this Texas A&M team is for real. It was a tale of two halves. It started off with LSU just having their way with A&M in the first half, 17-7 at one point, and it was really looking like LSU was the real deal. They were going to cement themselves as the leader in the SEC. They're going to take mantle in the top three teams in the country, and we were going to finally say, Brian Kelly, he's finally did it. He's finally saying who he says he was. But wait a second. That second half, shout out to Mike Elko and that coaching staff for making a change, taking out Connor Wigman and putting in Marcel Reese. And this guy came in and was the difference maker. 5 straight scoring plays for Texas A&M team for them to go on to win by over 10 points. It just shows what game plan and coaching can do, right? Colin Klein could have stuck with Wigman and stayed stagnant like they were in the first half, by having so much pride, but he made the opportunity and he took the chance to really pull out and put a guy in that has a little bit more wiggle room and with the way he runs the ball, and it brings a different dimension to your team, right? Colin Klein should know because he was a running quarterback at Kansas State, so he understands what having a mobile QB could do, and especially with a great pass rush as LSU did have. It changed the game. It turned the tide. And if I'm Mike Echo, I kind of stick with the hot hand. I know they're going to want to run this 2 QB system, but honestly, when it's crunch time, when you're going to need it the most, you're going to need a QB that's battle tested. And I think that you need to just stay with Marcel Reese, because at this point now, he is giving you the best chance. And every game he's played, y'all have won sustainably. So I think that they should keep him, but at the same time, this game was electric. I'm super happy for A&M because guess what? In a couple of weeks, we're going to have the Lone Star Showdown again after it has been gone for over 10 years, and they swore they would never play. But wait, we'll get to that. Next, we're going to talk about is the Colorado Buffaloes. Shout out Coach Prime. What he's doing right now, his stock has just rose. I'm saying it because at the end of the day, we had an expectation for this team just to win 4 games. And them going into the Big 12 didn't really help their cause because the Big 12 is better than the Pac 12, right? Everybody wrote off Coach Prime, saying that he was just for flash, he's just for Instagram likes. He wasn't a real gamer. He wasn't a real coach, and he couldn't do it at the D1 level. But watch how he is showing up. This is really a tale of 2 seasons right now. Because at the beginning of the season, we understood that their offensive line was still shaky. Defensive line wasn't really getting any pressure, so they had to manufacture a lot of blitzes to help get pressure, which left a lot of players in coverage one-on-one. But at the end of the day, they've turned around after the Nebraska game and really held their own. Even their loss to Kansas State was a close one. You cannot say enough of what he's doing for the Colorado Buffaloes. They're bowl eligible for the first time in over almost 10 years. It's really awesome to see what he's doing for this team and for the organization and for the city of Boulder of itself. Like, he is what he said he was going to do. And shout out to Shedeur and Travis. We can't say enough about them. This is just some stats that I'm seeing from them right now. Shedeur went 25 for 30 for 323 yards, 2 touchdowns, 140 QBR. That is impressive. Shedeur doesn't get enough praise for what he's doing, right? For a lot of people that think he's just too flashy, he got the wrist, the music, the ice, that's fine, but he produces on the field. He's trained with Tom Brady. He's seen what it means to be a clutch time gamer, and guy's just efficient. He doesn't throw too many picks. He's really one of the best passers, true passers in all of college football now, and is showing it on a consistent basis. And let's not stop talking about Travis Hunter. Oh my goodness, this guy is a gamer. What Travis Hunter is doing is putting together a great Heisman campaign, and I'm expecting to see him in New York at the end of the season. If not win it, come runner-up, because what he's doing right now is impressive. He also had 9 receptions for 153 yards and 2 touchdowns, with being the only player in Big 12 history to be offensive and defensive player of the week. That just shows a lot. And like I said, we don't talk enough about him because obviously I think Colorado is having a great season, but they're not getting as much limelight as they were. But I can only say much of a team that's going bowling. They honestly have a chance to win the Big 12, and I'm excited to watch them because right now what they're doing is spectacular. What Coach Prime is doing to resurge this fan base, and just the way he's doing it on his own terms, I love to see it. So let's just keep watching out for them. We're going to talk about Alabama bouncing back. They finally did what they need to do, right? Blitz, Bama, blitz. This Alabama team has been one of the teams that I would say has been a little underperforming this year, right? Not in the sense of they're still the Alabama we know and love, but they have not been as dominant as in years past under Nick Saban. I know Kalen DeBoer is a different regime. He's a different personality. He's a different archetype than Nick. He's finally, I think, getting into his own, and we knew that his defense has always been a little bit shaky. Now I'm glad that they went out there and showed it against Missouri. I know Brady didn't finish the game, but still, being a team, skunking them and not letting them score points, I want to say it was 34-0. It still shows a lot of the testimony because Missouri was still a ranked team in the country. You're not beating a slouch. So for Alabama, they still have wins against Georgia and a couple of ranked teams in the country. So I know people will still want to throw them down, but I still think this is a chance for them to make the college football playoffs. It's going to be by a long shot. They're going to need a lot of good things, and they're going to need to win out. But by no means is this team out. I think Jalen Milroe still has an opportunity to take this team into the promised land like he has done before, taking them to the playoffs. But it's gonna take a team effort. It's going to take them really buckling down, staying consistent, being disciplined, especially on the defensive end, because at the end of the day, you can put up as many points as you want, but if you can't shut a team down on the defensive end, especially what Alabama is known for, what the stadium and the tradition has been built by, tough defensive guys ready to get after it, they need to get back to that. But I'm glad that what they showed last week against Missouri, it was on a good foot. And last but not least, we're foreshadowing, right, into the end of the year. The Texas versus Texas A&M showdown. We haven't had this showdown since 2011. That's been how long since the last time they played. And these two teams have a true disdain for each other. Both teams right now are 7-1. Both teams are top of the SEC. Both teams have an opportunity to play in the college football playoffs. You can't get more Cinderella story than this. Right, you having the high-flying offensive powers of Texas. Now we're getting against the down, dirty dogs of Texas A&M under their defense. It's going to be I think it's going to be the game of the decade, because there's true disdain for these programs. Teams that really don't want to play each other. Teams that really, at the end of the day, could care less for each other. That's what you love about college football, because the fan bases, the fans, the players, they all buy in. Regardless of the record in that game, they're going to have a classic matchup. But it's only making it better because these two teams right now are being historically good. And it's been a very, very, very long time since they've played each other, and they've been both top 10 teams in the country. So it just shows to go show you how important and the magnitude that this game really can implement, moving forward. And that just goes from SEC championship game to college football playoff rankings or standings for who they'll play. But this game is going to be electric. If you grew up in Texas, you either grew up an A&M fan or a Texas fan, even by default. Even if you didn't go to the schools, you rooted for one or the other. And with Kyle Field having the largest stadium in Texas, and Texas really not caring for them down south, it's really being built up to be a real life showdown. The last time Texas played A&M, they won on a field goal by Justin Tucker field goal. I know that they hate it because that was the last time they played at Kyle Field. How does that feel, that sour taste in your mouth, knowing that your arch nemesis just beat you last time you guys played 13 years ago on your own field by a field goal to end the game? This is going to be set up for one of the best college football seasons we've had in a long time. I'm glad we're getting a little bit more college football with the playoff expansion. You let me know, what teams are you excited for? What games were you excited for this last weekend? And what are your predictions on the college football standings? Who is going to be in? Who's out? You let me know. Thank you. Signing off.